Today, we're opening up a file on one of history's most compelling and just profoundly disturbing figures. The conqueror Tamerlane, or Timur.
Right.
And what makes him so fascinating isn't just his military record, but the sheer contradiction at the heart of the man himself.
It's this paradox of the poet butcher. I mean, here was a brilliant intellectual, a devout Muslim funding these massive libraries, gorgeous architecture.
A man who could quote poetry, apparently.
Vast amounts of it. And yet he was also the architect of systematic psychological terror on a scale that's, well, it's rarely been matched.
That contradiction is what makes it all so much more disturbing. We're diving into sources covering his, 35 relentless years of conquest? From 1370 to 1405.
But his mission was, on paper, simple. He wanted to resurrect the legacy of the Mongol Empire.
He saw himself as the true heir to Genghis Khan.
He did. And he took that Mongol strategy of using terror as a weapon, and he refined it. He turned it into something surgically precise.
And precision is absolutely the key word here. We're looking beyond just general warfare and focusing on what we're calling his calculating cruelty.
Exactly. This deep dive is about the methodology, because when you analyze his campaigns, the scale of the destruction is almost impossible to grasp. Some sources suggest Tamerlane's forces may have been responsible for the deaths of up to 17 million people.
17 million.
Yeah.
If you just zoom out and look at the world population at the time, it was around 365 million. We're talking about a single man and his armies potentially wiping out 5% of the human race.
It's just staggering.
Yeah.
And it wasn't collateral damage. The sources really emphasize this. It was deliberate, methodical, and designed to send a crippling message.
Right. Most conquerors want to keep cities intact, for the taxes.
But Tamerlane, if a city resisted or, God forbid, betrayed him, he made it cease to exist. Terror became a core military asset. Okay, let's unpack this and see how this intellectual made cruelty his art form.
Let's start with a really chilling case study that just sets the tone for everything else. The city of Sivas in central Turkey, 1400.
Sivas was defended by a small garrison. A lot of them were Armenian Christians. Tamerlane's reputation was already out there.
So they knew they had no chance in a straight fight.
None. But they also dreaded the slaughter that usually followed a surrender. So Tamerlane, being this master psychologist, offers them a way out.
One that seemed to honor the rules of war at the time.
He sent word to the, 3,000 or 4,000 soldiers, and he made a solemn, unbreakable oath. Not a single drop of your blood will be shed.
And you have to think about what that meant back then. An oath from a ruler wasn't just words. It was a religious contract.
They believed him, they thought they were safe, they opened the gates.
And that's where the horror really begins.
Because Tamerlane revealed this legalistic nightmare behind his promise. He kept his word, but with horrifying technicality.
You didn't use swords.
No. His soldiers rounded up all the surrendered men, marched them outside the walls where they had already dug these massive, deep trenches, and they forced the men into the pits and just buried them alive, shovelful by shovelful.
Buried alive, not a single drop of blood spilled. He kept his oath.
Technically.
But the psychological message that's sent across the entire known world,
Yeah.
that's what makes Sivas so important.
It's brilliant in the most cynical way possible. This act told everyone that Tamerlane wasn't just strong, he was always thinking 3 moves ahead.
He showed them that his mercy was just a trick, a technical illusion.
And that fighting to the death might actually be better than trusting a conqueror who operates like a destructive lawyer.
It changes the entire calculation for the next city, doesn't it? If you're defending the next fortress, you have to ask yourself, do I die fighting? Or do I surrender and maybe die slowly with dirt in my lungs?
Exactly. It completely undermines the entire medieval concept of surrender. Sivas proved he didn't just win battles, he corrupted the very system of warfare.
So if Sivas established him as this merciless lawyer of death, our next example shows he was also a kind of landscape architect of oblivion.
Right.
Let's talk about total erasure, starting with the city of Urgen in modern-day Turkmenistan, a wealthy, crucial hub on the Silk Road.
And Urgen had initially submitted to him. That's what made their next move so catastrophic. They rebelled.
For Tamerlane, that wasn't just a political mistake.
No, it was a personal betrayal. He'd already shunned them mercy. He could tolerate initial defiance, but rebellion against his established rule, that was unforgivable.
So what was the punishment for that betrayal?
Annihilation. Total, absolute annihilation. This was in 1388. The orders were chillingly comprehensive. First, kill the entire population, men, women, children.
The chronicles mention rivers of blood in the streets.
They do. But that was just phase 1.
And phase 2 was?
Level everything. Every single building, every wall, mosque, library, market methodically torn down. The destruction was so complete that even today, archaeologists struggle to find where the original city even was.
He wanted to make sure it could never be rebuilt.
Or resettled. It's almost ritualistic. It's not enough to kill the people. You have to kill the memory of the place itself.
And then came the final symbolic act.
Yes. He allegedly ordered his troops to plow the rubble where the city once stood, and sow the ground with barley.
With barley.
Just think about that. Turning a vibrant metropolis, a center of culture and trade, into symbolic farmland.
He wasn't just defeating the city, he was declaring it uncreated.
It's a profound statement. Where a great city stood, there's now just empty land, fit for livestock. That symbolic erasure, killing the history of a place, is maybe even more terrifying than the physical destruction.
It cemented his reputation. He didn't just conquer places, he could remove them from the map entirely.
Absolutely.
Now let's pivot to a similar story. Isfahan in Persia, a year earlier in 1387. This is where we see the blueprint for his most infamous method.
Right. Isfahan also surrendered at first. They got the standard deal, a big garrison, heavy taxes. But they rebelled. They killed Tamerlane's entire garrison.
The betrayal was complete. He returns for vengeance.
And this is where we see the systemization of terror really codified. He ordered a general massacre, but he didn't just let his troops run wild, he imposed a quota.
The notorious Skull Towers quota. What did that actually look like on the ground?
Every single unit in his army was given a specific, mandatory number of severed heads they had to bring back.
So it turned mass murder into a grim logistical task for the soldiers.
Exactly. The death toll estimates vary, but we're talking anywhere from 70,000 to maybe 200,000 people.
But the point wasn't just the killing, it was the display.
The display was everything. Once the quotas were met, Tamerlane ordered the construction of monuments. They took the tens of thousands of severed heads and built these huge pyramids or towers in public squares at the city gates all along the major roads.
I can't even imagine what that would look like. There was one chronicler who survived, right?
Yes, he reportedly documented 28 of these towers, and he estimated about 1,500 heads per tower before he just became physically ill and couldn't keep counting.
And these weren't temporary.
No, they were designed as permanent architectural warnings. They stood for years. Silent, grotesque reminders of the price of defiance. If you were approaching Isfahan, you knew exactly who was in charge.
Let's move to 1398, Tamerlane's huge campaign into the Delhi Sultanate in India. Here, the cruelty becomes less about personal revenge and more about cold, detached, tactical math.
Tamerlane's army was incredibly efficient at taking captives. So efficient, in fact, that by the time they reached Delhi, they had a huge logistical nightmare on their hands.
100,000 captured Hindu prisoners.
100,000 people you have to feed, guard, and move, all while you're preparing for the decisive battle.
So Tamerlane calculates the risk, that they might revolt or just slow him down.
And he makes a brutally simple operational decision. He orders the systematic execution of all 100,000 captives in a single day.
A mass execution just to optimize logistics. I mean, the psychological effect on his own troops. Who had to carry that out?
The chroniclers described the camp just turning into a slaughterhouse. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't an example. It was pure military pragmatism. Eliminate the liability.
And the main battle itself. It showcased his tactical genius just as much as his moral vacuum.
Oh, absolutely. The Sultan of Delhi had this secret weapon, 120 armored war elephants, basically medieval tanks, sometimes with poison tusks.
A force designed to break any traditional army.
So Tamerlane's counter was just audacious. He didn't try to fight strength with strength. He ordered his baggage camels to be loaded with hay and grass.
I think I know where this is going.
He set the camels on fire and drove the screaming, flaming animals straight into the elephant corps.
That is insane.
It's brilliant. The elephants, terrified by the fire and the noise, they panicked, broke formation, and stampeded back through their own lines. They routed the Sultan's army for him.
And after the victory came the predictable 5-day sack of Delhi. But Tamerlane adds this final masterful act of humiliation.
Right. He captures 90 of those war elephants, the symbols of Indian royal power.
And he doesn't kill them.
No. He forces these enormous animals to become beasts of burden, making them haul stone and plunder hundreds of miles back to his capital, Samarkand, to build his great mosque.
Delhi, this magnificent city, took over a century to recover.
A century?
Which brings us to what many sources call his final masterpiece of terror.
Yeah.
Baghdad, in 1401.
Baghdad had committed the ultimate offense. It submitted to him and then switched allegiance when he was away.
This was the culmination of all his methods. He knew the city was expecting punishment, so he had to make it unforgettable.
He ramps up the quota system from Isfahan.
But this time it's not a unit quota, it's personal.
Exactly. Tamerlane demanded a minimum of 2 severed heads per individual soldier. Just think about the pressure that puts on an average foot soldier.
Failing to meet that quota meant facing Tamerlane's punishment yourself. It must have been sheer anarchy.
It was. Sources describe a terrifying frenzy where soldiers, desperate, were killing anyone, not just enemies, but valuable captives. There are even claims that soldiers killed their own wives or slaves just to meet the count.
The death toll is estimated at what, 20 to 90,000?
In that range, yeah. And the monuments he left behind, they dwarfed everything he'd done before.
Chroniclers claim 120 skull towers were built across the city.
They did. But interestingly, just like at Urgen, he was very systematic about what he destroyed and what he spared.
He leveled every public building, every library.
But he specifically ordered that the religious sites, the mosques, the shrines, be left untouched.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that was a powerful final statement, wasn't it?
It was. By sparing the religious sites in a landscape of total rubble, she sent a clear message. My war is not against Islam, it's against disobedience. The untouched shrines prove that everything else, culture, history, life itself, depended on absolute submission to him.
So this deep dive has really shown that Tamerlane built his massive empire from Turkey to India, not just with military might, but by making horror a strategic art form.
Every single atrocity, from the buried men of Sivas to the flaming camels of Delhi, was a calculated move.
And in the short term, that strategic cruelty worked brilliantly.
Absolutely. He died in 1405, planning an invasion of China. He'd built the vastest empire since the Mongols. He achieved his goal.
But empires built purely on fear, they rarely last, do they? His domain fragmented almost immediately after he died.
The political structures just collapsed, but the memory didn't. The empire fell apart, but the stories of the skull towers and the technical promises, they cemented his immortality.
He achieved a lasting legacy through fear. For centuries, his name was synonymous with uncompromising, calculated brutality.
It was.
So what does this all mean for you as you're processing this history? We've talked about the tactical execution of 100,000 prisoners in Delhi and the twisted oath at Sivas. But I want you to think about the destruction of Urgen.
Yes, the symbolic uncreation.
Was the physical destruction of the people, as horrifying as it was, the most terrifying part? Or was it the deliberate effort to kill the city itself? The order to plow the rubble and plant barley, that symbolic erasure of history. Is that the ultimate act of conquest? It forces you to wonder if the deepest cruelty is in killing the body or in eradicating the very record that the body ever existed.